Good morning and welcome to Creative Marketing TV. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. I am happy to have you here. I don't know what's going on with that echo. One second here. I do know, hopefully that took care of it now. That was my mistake. All right. So, sorry about that. I am just having one tech problem after another today. And my guest did as well, which is why we're a little late. But I am happy to say that I have a guest today with me, Diana Needham. She is going to talk about her special sauce that she shares with business authors about how to make sure their books are something that people are going to want to read. So Diana, please unmute yourself and welcome to Creative Marketing TV.
Well, thank you so much, Susan, for having me. It's my joy and delight to share with you and with your audience today.
Great. Well, to start out, let's let them know right away what this is, what the main point is here. You have some things you want to share with us about things that you think people overlook often when they're creating a business book. So tell us a little about that.
Yeah, well, here's the sad thing, and I wish I didn't have to say that this is a real number. But on average, the self-published author sells only 57 copies, barely to friends and family. And it pains me to say that. When I think about why that happens, it's because we don't know. When we have a big message, and I work with speakers, consultants, and coaches, and small business owners who have a big message that they want to get out. No one has ever asked them some key questions that they need to answer, and ideally they need to answer these before they start writing, not after the book is written. So the reason that people end up in that category of selling only 57 copies and then they're disappointed, of course, right? Because now you've invested all this time and energy and effort and dollars doing anything.
Yeah.
If you're writing the book to grow your business, then, it's really painful. And I work with some people in that situation. But the way that we get there, or how that happens, is that we aren't thinking strategically at the very beginning.
Right. And I know that's what you're going to walk us through in a minute. So thank you for that intro. Hopefully that's going to be of interest to people. I know it certainly is of interest to me since I'm just finishing up my own book, which I had finished writing before I met you, but fortunately I had another coach who helped me with some of those things. But I love the way that you approach it, and I can't wait to hear more about it. Tell us just a little bit, Diana, if you would, why you got so interested in helping people with their business books and with publishing.
Well, it all started with a very lovely client named Claire. And she and I were in a business coaching program together. And she was one of those people that was in this category of the book hadn't done what she had hoped. And I've always been and continue to be a marketing strategist and a business coach. So when we started talking, it became very clear to me that she hadn't answered these five questions that I'm going to share with our audience today. She hadn't really answered them. And so what happened is she wrote this book that wasn't as targeted as it needed to be to get the result that she really wanted. All started with Claire, and we had a conversation, and she said, "Can you help me with this?" And I said, "Of course." So let's sit down and figure out what we need to do. And what I really figured out is that I love working with authors. I love working with people that have a big message and they have a business and they want to leverage that message as a marketing strategy. Now, this is not about selling a gazillion copies. If that's what you want to do, I'm not the person to work with. I work with people that want to use their book as a marketing strategy for most people, they want to use it to attract clients.
Right.
And that means your strategy for writing the book at the very beginning is a little bit different. So it all started with Claire, who showed up, and I discovered that I loved working with authors, and I've been doing that ever since.
And because you had the marketing background, that's why you know about these 5 questions that you're going to tell us, whereas other book coaches maybe don't know about that, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and I think a lot of people that will, and sadly, I just heard a story about this a week ago. There are a lot of folks that will help you publish your book. Unfortunately, unless you have the right strategy, you may well end up in that statistic of selling 57 copies, because the mechanics of publishing in and of itself is not enough to ensure that your book is successful.
that's for sure. Yeah. So, what is the first question that you want people to look at, Diana?
Well, the very first question is, are you writing this book?
Why are you writing the book?
Right, because it's more than a surface answer. I really hold the space and ask my clients and the prospects that I talk to go deep. Why is getting this message out there so very important? Why? It's what is in here, not what is up here. So what I hear a lot is there isn't enough information, and what's out there is confusing, and yada, 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 yada. And I listen to all of that, and I hold the space and ask the question again. Sometimes I have to phrase it this way, Susan. Was there a pivotal moment when something happened to you or somebody that you care about where you realized that this message, this topic, this information you have to get it out? It's something internal.
Mm-hmm.
It's something internal. And I've had people, when I hold that space for them, come back with some of the most amazing stories of what the moment that something happened, that they realized this message was so big, it was bigger than them, and they had to get it out because they knew there were thousands of people looking for that information and in that same situation. So the very first question is why. Now, some people might think that that's irrelevant. If you're writing a business book, why would anybody care about your why? But the truth is, your story, the why you're writing this book, becomes the very powerful introduction.
Yeah.
That story in the introduction to get people with you. And so that's why it's very important. It's the first thing that I pull out of people. It also is, and I know you know this, Susan, it's what will keep you going when you want to quit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, even if you're recording it or you've already got content, there is work. You have to have that big why in front of you. You have to have that vision. You have to know who it is. And that's the next question. Who is it? Who am I writing this book for? Who are the people that are waiting for this information? It's not everybody. It's not, your book is not for everybody. Your book is for a specific set of people looking for a specific set of information because they've got, the third question, they've got a specific challenge.
Mm-hmm.
They have a challenge. So the second question is the who. Okay, now it's the why, and then it's who. Who is my ideal reader? Who is my ideal client? If you're writing this book, it needs to be about the biggest challenge your ideal client has. Why would you want to write a book to attract sandpaper clients that you don't really want? I picked up that sandpaper client from one of the workshops I was doing, and it's like, write your book to somebody that's waiting for your message and that will pay you to help them. That seems to be a foreign concept, unfortunately, to a lot of people. So who is it for specifically? I mean, is it a man or a woman? I want them to see a person, see a faces. And you know this, it's much easier to write a book if you can see one person that is your ideal client, the person that you're here to help. What is the pain she's having? That's the third question is, what's the challenge? What's she waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning worried about? Your ideal client is probably not worried about, I need to go buy another marketing book.
Probably
right?
not.
I mean, but what is, and so, people, when we talk about the challenge, sometimes people, again, they have this academic, head answer, but really I ask them to dig deep. What is the real problem? What are they really thinking at 3 a.m.? And I just had a wonderful call with one of my new clients yesterday, and we dug really deep, and the real answer, have enough revenue.
Yeah.
They're waking up in the middle of the night and their wife is saying to them, honey, I want to take the kids to Disney for Christmas. And he's embarrassed to tell her we can't do that because we don't have the money coming into the business for me to fund a vacation. That's his pain.
Yep. Yeah.
That is his pain. And so when you know that's his pain, you write the book specifically for the person in that situation, knowing there are thousands of people just like that person, your message, and they happen to be your ideal client, and they happen to be someone to pay you to help them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I'm thinking about it in connection with my book, which I'll just tell our audience too. Diana has been helping me with the publishing end of my book. I had it mostly written, but she's been helping me with getting it published. So she's seen the draft. And, originally, I think my book was probably a little bit too heady. I wrote it about information related to what I did, but it was a little more on the academic side, I think. And so at some point I realized that, and I got actually in a workshop with the coach I had been working with. He had gave us some suggestions for, be really clear about what you want the book to accomplish, like you're saying, to get clients. For me, it was to get clients and to get students who would take classes from me. So it could, two different types of clients. So then I started looking at what did I need to add to what was already there to help address that. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. And I think it is something.
Yeah, I mean, it does.
People don't necessarily.
Oh, I'm sorry. It logical. I mean, to the folks that are listening to this, and it may sound logical, but the thing is, very few people are telling aspiring authors that unless you answer these questions, the success of your book is in danger. You're going to end up like Claire with a book, who I love, and she's awesome. And if I can just finish up the Claire story, she wrote this first book, and it's a wonderful book. And we did an Amazon launch, and we did a lot of things. But the truth is, it wasn't targeted enough. And so when she came here, we had a VIP day, and I asked her, Claire, and this is the fifth question, what do you want this book to do for you? Result. I want you to imagine we got this book in your hand happening in your business. What is happening in your life? What is the result you really want? And that, because they haven't thought about it.
Diana, your sound broke up there. Can you just repeat that last thing a little bit?
I said, most people don't know the answer. They may know the answer to the why I'm writing the book and the who and the problem, but they haven't thought about, right? What is the result that I really want from this book?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you just said for your book, you want to attract students into your classes as well as clients.
Yes, clients who would pay me to create presentations for them, or students who wanted to do it themselves but wanted to learn a better way to do it. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. So when you know that at the beginning, the beauty of that is that now while you're writing, again, speak from a marketing perspective, how do I get in front of business owners that will pay me to do presentations and students that are interested in this topic, so that during the writing process, I'm building an audience so I have people to buy the book at the end.
Mm-hmm. To buy the book,
but once
and to buy future training from me, or, to send me an email and say, I'd like to talk to you about what you do, and maybe you can do some work for me, Yeah. But they have to be interested in the book first. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's about marketing strategy. Yep. And so, when you know what the end result is, and, for Claire in this conversation that we had, we were kind of going in a circle. And, finally she said this book, me to do 2- and 3-day workshops inside companies to help women leaders untangle the organizational chaos. Now we have something to work with. Now I know who her market is.
Yeah.
So, I almost fell off my chair. I was so excited for her, because now how to build to get a marketing strategy to get her in front of those people for the book. Now, the thing that happened with her is we market the first. There was nothing wrong with the first book. It just wasn't as targeted. She went on after we worked together and wrote the book that she really should have written in the first place to those women. And now she has 2 books that she's leveraging. She travels all over the world with her husband. They work with corporations, and it's amazing. She has 2 books, but the first book wasn't as targeted to those women leaders that she's here to help.
Mm-hmm. No, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a good point too, to remind people that even if you have done one book and it's not selling that well, you can always do a second one and make it more targeted to a specific audience, right? And in fact, my understanding is that's not a bad strategy, to take the same book and target it for a different audience,
Yep. And you don't want to throw out the first book. I'm sure, in her case, her first book was amazing. It wasn't as targeted to the specific women leaders she's here to help. And so having the second book, so now when she's speaking, if she's speaking to a general women's audience, she's got a book. Speaking to leaders, she has a book. And when she's selling things at the back of the room, she bundles them together and she sells them as a package.
Oh, great idea. Yeah.
It all, it all works. And tell that story, and I use that story a lot, because once she got and the result that she wanted, she was, very quick. She wrote this second book without telling me. I didn't even know she was doing it. We finished our work on the first book, and the next thing I knew, she's like, I'm so excited. I've just launched my book. And I was able to sell enough copies using only my LinkedIn groups. Great. Her background is HR. She's in a lot of LinkedIn groups. So when she started answering people's questions in her LinkedIn groups and telling them that her book had just come out, she had enough sales in a weekend to the top 100 books in her category, using the information she learned from working with me on the first book. So for her, it's amazing. This process does work. I have worked with 40, I've been blessed to work with 40 authors whose goal was to have their book be on a bestseller list. And I have 10 more in process right now. So really excited about that.
That's great. Well, those are great stories. Thank you. That really helps to make it much more real. And I love the fact that Claire was in HR, then that, yeah, you really did need to target that audience. And unless you're specific about that, it's that whole marketing thing that people get stuck in of like, oh, my product or my service is for everybody. And it's a hard one for a lot of people to get past. So sounds like you do a good job.
Yeah, it is. And,
find that answer. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and when she really thought about what is this woman leader thinking about at 3 a.m., it's that their teams aren't functioning. Mm-hmm. It's that there's discord, there's conflict, there's stuff going on, and she might be afraid she's going to lose her job if she doesn't get this fixed.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, I think it's those people who are, well, it's a couple categories, like I said, but the big one I was targeting initially was, who's the person that gives presentations a lot, whether it's in the office or whether it's marketing presentations, but they're just not getting as much response as they think they should be getting, So, yeah, you do have to get specific about who your audience is and what's keeping them awake at night. You're right. Mm-hmm. Diana, we need to start thinking about wrapping up here, but I know you have a free offer that you wanted to let people know about. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, and I will bring up the URL on the screen here for them to get the information.
Okay, awesome. Yes, and I have put together a special report that has these 5 questions. So if you're watching this replay or you're here with us live and you're thinking, really would love to write a book and use it as a marketing strategy for my business, then go to the URL that Susan has here, and I will send you these 5 questions. What I always recommend that people do is to get out from behind their computer and to answer these questions. For me, it's being out on my deck, right? It's being outside in nature. Just write out the answers. And that will bring you so much clarity. You don't want to waste any time, energy, effort, and dollars writing a book that's not going to get you the result that you want. And if I can help you in any way, inside that report is some contact information. I'd love to connect with you on Facebook, LinkedIn, email me, whatever works. If you're writing a book right now, or maybe it's just a vague idea, you want to make sure you've got the right foundation in place. And answering these 5 questions is how you do that.
Great, thank you. And, the other thing I'll ask you to do, Diana, once the replay is up here, which usually doesn't take very long, if you want to put a comment under the video, then you can put whatever contact information you want there as well. And
okay, we'll do.
Put the link for the free download there as well for anybody who wants it. All right, well, let's finish up here with maybe just 1 or 2 tips that you want to give people of how to get started if they've been thinking about creating a book. Obviously, your questions are a good place to start, but maybe even farther back than that, if they haven't really decided yet if it's something they should do, how do they start thinking about a topic or about whether it is a good strategy for them?
Beyond figuring out the why to write this book, it's a challenge my ideal client has. And for most people, there are multiple challenges. So that one of the challenges that my clients have is which one do I write the first book about? And I have to remind them, you can always write a series. So what is the biggest pain? What is the thing, the top thing? That's what you want to write about if you're going to use this book to attract clients. What is the biggest challenge? Get clear about the biggest challenge if you want to have success using your book to grow your business.
And maybe we can add too, if you don't know what your client's biggest challenges are, you can always ask them, right?
Yeah, what a novel concept. Just ask them. And you know, here's the other thing, and I know you know this. Words, not yours. How do they describe this problem?
You're breaking up again a little bit. I think you said use their words, right?
Yeah. Yes, use their words. What are they saying verbatim? That becomes powerful sales copy.
Yes, definitely. Well, Diana, thank you so much. I really appreciated hearing your questions that you lead people through. I think they're great. I know they're great for marketing, period, but especially as applied to a book. I love it. So thank you so much for sharing your insights with my audience this morning.
For having me, Susan. It's been my joy to be here with you today.
Good. All right. Well, thank you. And thanks to our audience, if they're watching live or watching the replay. Again, my name is Susan Joyce Schlief. This is Creative Marketing TV, and I will look forward to seeing you the next time.